Okay, Chris Peaks back here today. Brandon Mosley for our BCS State of Alabama podcast, and we got First District GOP congressional candidate Austin Sidwell here with us today. Austin, man, how's the campaign going?
It's going really good, especially since the beginning of January kind of kicked off this year and got out of the holiday season. We've got building momentum every single day.
Mr. Sidwell, I mean, there's like seven candidates in this. Of course, there's no incumbent. How do you build name recognition given, the number of candidates? I mean, we would like to get everybody on the podcast who's running for Congress, but it might not even be possible.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, that's the name of the game, right? No pun intended. But I, I- we believe in getting out in front of people. Obviously, with social media, digital media, there's ways to grow that quickly, but we're everywhere we can be. I mean, all over the district. Y'all know how crazy this district is and how expansive it is, including the Wiregrass all the way over to the Mississippi line in Mobile. We just decided to be everywhere.
So, Austin, you look like you're a pretty young guy, man. What made you decide to go hang out in DC?
Just the current state of our country. I am 36 years old, just turned 36 at the beginning of the month, and got three kids, a 15-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 4-year-old, and just do not feel like our current representatives building out a future with them in mind. I think that we're at a point of our country, with the division and everything going on, where you take a look at where the conservative movement has been over the last 30 years, and it's continually gotten pushed left. All the things that I've heard my entire life, the Reagan-esque conservative values of small government, fair taxes, just common sense government. We don't get it. We haven't gotten it for decades. And I think especially in Congress with a president like we have that's willing to, push and fight, he needs people in Congress that are going to do the same thing, that aren't tied to special interest or trying to make a name for themselves or trying to be in DC for 30 and 40 years. They need people that, understand that our representative government is built on people that from the district, live in the district, or like the people of the district to step up, go serve for a period of time and then come back home. It's not meant to be a career.
Our current deficit is, well, I mean, not deficit, our debt is $38 trillion. And yet the deficit looks like it's going to add another $1 trillion, assuming we get a government funding package, we would avoid a shutdown. Um, what are we doing wrong up there?
Again, we're putting the interest of the lobbyists and these big corporations before what is best for the American people, for the individuals that we're supposed to be representing. The money's going somewhere. We all look at our checks and know that we're getting taxed plenty. There's enough money up there, so it's not getting to the right places. I'm pretty much like everyone else. You look at the fraud in Minnesota, you look at the fraud everywhere, and it's that's just the tip of the iceberg. The money is not going to the appropriate places because Congress has delegated its power over the last or 6 decades to, to executive agencies, right? The administrative state. It's Congress needs to have the courage to step up and say, no, we need to figure out where we have the power of the purse. We need to make these decisions, but we can't even get a budget. I mean, it's just and to be honest with you, why? I don't know. I mean, whether it's power, money, greed, just a desire to be there. I don't know what it is, but it's not right, and it's not how our founding fathers, built this country. It's not. It was not their intention.
So, when we have candidates on who are challengers or running for open seats, we're all the challengers say this that they don't want to make it a career, make it a couple of terms. Why do you think that so many politicians, once they get elected, that they stay up there for 50 years?
I think this is the nature of the system. You get there and you make, it doesn't have to be a big compromise, but you make a little compromise, and then you make another compromise, and then before you know it, you're so consumed by the system that you forgot where you came from. You know, I signed a pledge that I would not only fight for term limits but self-limit myself, and it's just about sticking to your word. I mean, I don't have any other evidence that I'll be different than anyone else other than I've done it before, right? I'm outside of the system. I don't have the political connections. I don't have the things that you look at in our current political system and say, they were tied to it from the beginning. So they can say all they want while they're running a campaign, but so it starts with electing people that have been outside the system. And then how do we get there? Well, I mean, I've got a 15-year-old son that every single day I've got to come home to, and more important than anything to me is raising a good young man, a good, productive member of society. So I have him to hold me accountable. I've got a 4-year-old son. Not to mention my 8-year-old daughter, and what's going on with girls and the just travesty that is how we view and respect women and what we're doing in sports and the trans issues and stuff like that. But I've got boys that I've got to raise them to men. So how do you do that? You give them an example. So they are my foundation. I'm a Christian. Not just in words, but I try and practice it. I'm not perfect, but those are the things that I'm going to hold on to as I get up there. And ultimately, when I come home at night, I got a young man that's looking at me, couple with two, to be honest, and to stick to my word. So
Mr. Sidwell, um, rough millions of American children are reliant on the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. What, those of us are getting kind of old, used to call food stamps, to get through, through the month. Um, but like 60% of those kids are overweight. Do we need some reforms? Like maybe you can't buy soda or Cheetos or Doritos or nacho cheese dip with your SNAP benefits.
possibly, but I think that makes them misses the mark on the issue. The issue is, okay, yes, I think we should be more nutritious. I think the Maha movement is pretty cool. I didn't really see that one coming, but I think that the movement towards better food should come into our SNAP program. But SNAP's got bigger problems. We shouldn't have people on SNAP. These are supplements to get people through a difficult part of their lives. People shouldn't be on these programs for years. The other issue with that is, it's attached to our farm bill, right? Like, how are we appropriately, putting our farmers' needs or addressing our farmers' needs when really the focus of that is the attachment of SNAP under those bills? That's more of a political move to make sure that you're funding the 42 million people on SNAP. I think we need reform in the sense of SNAP is a temporary program. It's a program to get you on your feet, help you, and then we shouldn't have 42 million people on it. And I don't know the numbers on how long people stay on the program, but I bet it's not looked at as a super temporary program.
Also, you mentioned a while ago about getting your name recognition out, running against so many candidates. In a Republican primary, pretty much every candidate says the same about how they're conservative, and you know, what kind of message do you have that's going to differentiate you from your other opponents to be able to get the votes you need to get in the runoff or possibly win without one?
Well, it's an understanding of what the position that I'm running for. The House of Representatives is a different portion of Congress. It's a different portion of our government. It was created. The reason why it's 435 and not even distribution like senators is because it's supposed to be district first. It's supposed to be you are supposed to represent the people of your district, meaning you have to understand the people of your district. In our district, with is large as it is, when they added the wiregrass to it, you need people that have lived and interacted and been in multiple parts of this district to understand the needs. I was an Air Force vet, and the last 5.5 years I was in the Air Force, I was at Fort Rucker as a helicopter instructor. I lived in
Okay,
Dothan.
great.
I'm from Baldwin County. Like I grew up on Fish River
Okay.
here in Baldwin County, and I live here again now, running my family's small business, who have had a business in Baldwin County for 20 plus years. And my mom's family's from Mobile. I really do feel like I am the best candidate in terms of encompassing the district, understanding the needs of the district, understanding the diversity, the economic diversity from one section to another. I've lived there.
Right.
I've known
Yeah.
it. And I think that that is really, really resonating with the people from all over the place. When you go to the Wiregrass, okay, I don't live there anymore, but just moved from there about 2 years ago. And I
Yeah.
was there, at Fort Rucker. I understand how important that is as the backbone of that community. I run a business in Baldwin County, which is a big deal. We have some issues down here, environmental, what's going on with the mud dumping in Mobile County and Mobile Bay. I grew up fishing on Mobile Bay, right? Like that matters when you're looking at a representative in the House. Like you really need to be familiar with your district, and I think that people respond to that.
For pretty much the past 20 years, Baldwin has been pushing Madison as like the fastest growing counties in the state. The two of them by far, are the fastest growing we have. But a lot of that growth is below I-10. Not that many feet above sea level. Are we, as we add more and more houses down there in the southern tip of Baldwin and along the, Mobile Bay, are we just counting down to, another Hurricane Frederick type deal? I mean, the little Hurricane Sally deal was like a category one, and yet, the devastation was in the billions. Um, and how will people in your district be able to get homeowners insurance if such a storm comes through there?
Oh, that's a great question, and covers a lot. Yes, we're growing every day. Saw something, and I don't hold me to this. I don't know if it's true, but some like seven people are moving in a day. It's growing rapidly here, and you see it. One of the biggest problems with the local elections, county level, state level, is controlling or plussing up our infrastructure to keep up with the growth here in Baldwin County. And that matters when you have a Frederick, because you're absolutely right. Like we've had some smaller hurricanes recently that have caused a lot more damage than, and I was here, I was in high school during Ivan. Ivan wasn't as big as Frederick, but Ivan did, a lot of damage. And, it took us, I think we were without power for a week and a half, 2 weeks. And now you're seeing what happens when the next Ivan, the next Frederick comes in here. I don't know. I mean, we definitely have some infrastructure issues here. But all that is part of, I mean, people want to live here, right? Alabama being a conservative state that it is, people are moving in, they see the coast, we have beautiful beaches. It's just kind of the price of being in a good area that people want to be in. Now we just have to trust our leadership to aid in that growth from the county level up, right? Like from the lower levels of government up. I think that on the federal side, some of the we need representatives that are willing to look at some of the programs. There's a rural roads program that the federal government does where they can go in and give money based on the safety conditions on the roads, state roads, stuff like that. There is areas where the federal government can help with that. I'm sorry that there was a second part of your question that I think I talked
Yeah.
around, but
Yeah, the insurance issue,
yes.
because I mean, it's a free country, and you don't, if you run an insurance company, you don't have to be in Baldwin County or the state of Alabama if you think the risk is just too great. And obviously, people in your district are going to want insurance. I mean, how do we
Yes.
balance those two issues. I mean, I don't,
Well,
well,
I mean, insurance needs to, and his insurance covers. There's so much we've talked about healthcare insurance. Insurance is a problem across the board. I mean, housing insurance. We need to. I don't know if it's from a less regulation standpoint. That's kind of where I like to look first. Okay, can we take away some regulations that allow some competitors to come in here and let the market drive down prices? Maybe. If that doesn't work, then okay, well, what are other avenues in that are going to bring in competition? And I think that's what we need. We need more competition in the industry to help bring prices down because I'm a free market guy. It's not a absolute. Not everything's fixed by the free market, but I think competition helps. Opening up insurance across state lines, it's kind of the same argument on the health insurance side. Those costs down here are really, really affecting people. Large working class in Baldwin County, and you can't go to the doctor because you can't get insurance. That's we need more competition. We need the government to not add more regulations. We need to deregulate the industry so that we can get people in here and drive those prices.
Listen, you mentioned being you was in the Air Force. I'm a vet too. I was in the Army.
Okay.
Here recently seen the president used the military to launch strikes on narco boats and then the to arrest Maduro. Do you think the president overstepped his boundaries there as commander in chief, or do you think that was perfectly legal?
I think that was legal. I don't think he overstepped his boundaries, and I think it's good for America to get back his, you know, bring through power, right? Um, we there are instances and from a foreign policy standpoint where I was in the military during a time period where we were in the 20-year war in Afghanistan. We had these long every time we went and made even in Syria, right? Like we go in, we strike ISIS, and then we're there. We're still there. We're still losing people over there. So I would like for us to, you know, I'm interested to watch and see what happens in Venezuela going on. I think that the president did exactly what is exercising a police power. I mean, he went in, he got a narco terrorist, pulled him out. Now let's see what we do on the back end. Because I think that's where Trump has a opportunity to show that, I think he really cared. I think he doesn't want our service members over there in these long protracted wars. So I think can kind of sit here and see what happens in the near future with those operations. But from a get, that operation was, I mean, it was phenomenal. You want to
Yeah,
read?
it
Go
really
go
worked.
read some of the stuff there. That was, I mean, being a guy just recently out of the military to watch the coordination across Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, all the Delta Force that were
Yeah.
there. It was incredible. It's what the American military has
Do you hear about that
been
sonic
so
bomb
good
they
at.
they
Oh
launched?
yeah.
That
Yeah,
was bad,
that's
man.
it really was. So I love to see that.
Wow.
We should be
Yeah.
leading. We should strike fear in our enemies. And I
Hmm.
think that is good. It is good from a foreign policy standpoint to execute on that really well like we did.
Um, we went into Colombia, we used that, we were getting drugs from there and they were destabilizing the region, most specifically Colombia. Now, the Colombian government is, roughly an ally of the U.S., but if you look at the latest maps, the six rebel armies that they're facing control more of the country than the Colombian government, and 60% of the drugs, the cocaine that comes into the U.S. is grown in Colombia. Now that we have the Venezuelan situation at least on a track toward, I don't want to say ally, but, to a government we can work with, is it time to unleash like military force on FARC and some of these other, rebel narco groups that are, flooding our country with drugs?
Maybe. Um, maybe. Uh, I don't think now's the time. I could see it coming, in the future, within Trump's remaining 3 years. But now I don't know. I think that the focus is rightly kind of hopefully turning back towards America, kind of go turning back inside, and let's focus on that. Let's not get too drawn out. We still got to figure out what's next in Venezuela. There's been talk of Cuba. There's still always something going on in the Middle East. And with Iran there, I don't know if now's the time. I wouldn't be opposed to addressing those issues at better point, but I don't have all the information on it. So maybe now is the time, but I'd have to trust the intel on that. I think the administration has shown that they've really been one of their strengths is being able to make a decision and go for it, and then timing has been right most of the time on the foreign stage. So I don't know.
Also, we've seen here recently with the ICE raids that we've almost reached a boiling point. We've seen the Renee Good try to run over an ICE officer, and then, the guy who just got shot a few days ago had kicked one of their vehicles. And should we start? I mean, we don't want to encroach on people's First Amendment rights, but should we start handling these people more heavy-handed?
We have to protect our ICE officers. We have to protect our federal agents that are out there in any capacity, and even our local cops. Because I mean, regardless of what you say, the local cops are, just as much in harm's way, and not all of them are trying to, obstruct the federal agents that are there. So I think we have to look at safety for our officers first, but really it's not just a talking point to say that we were in a bad spot. I mean, however many million illegals, which I don't think we'll ever know the real extent of what happened over the previous administration, and even before that. I just think it got to a point where we had to be aggressive on the response. I mean, we have to go in and support anyone that came in legally, because we can't ask officers to go in and hand select which one's a bad illegal and which one's a good illegal. Well, I think that there is a point coming up, hopefully, where we hit maybe back to neutral, back to pre-Biden administration numbers, where we start looking at other options and actually looking at reforming our immigration system, making sure we're focusing on immigration plus assimilation, like focusing on bringing in people and allowing people in our country that want to come here and be a part of our society. But in terms of the protesters, it's hard. I mean, the First Amendment, America is what it is because the First Amendment and the values of freedom of speech. We have we cannot let that threaten our office. We have got to make sure that they stay safe, and we need to make sure that it's one thing to have protesters go out there, protest a cause for them or local groups and stuff like that. But if there are billionaires behind them pulling the strings and organizing this, that goes beyond, just someone out there protesting because it's their opinion and it's their right. I think we really do. I mean, I think you see in the FBI, the Justice Department really look into what's going on behind the scenes behind these protests. We shouldn't have billionaires funding organizations to go out there and obstruct any federal agency.
The Russian-Ukraine war is nearing its fourth anniversary. They've been fighting longer than we were involved in World War II. Um, for a year, President Trump's been trying to get a peace deal, but Putin hasn't agreed to any kind of deal, and his most recent demand includes hundreds of thousands of acres beyond what the Russian army holds in Ukraine. Do we need to ratchet up the amount of force that we're putting behind Ukraine to try to force a settlement if it doesn't come shortly? Or do we need to, like, start working our way out of this?
Personally, and again, I don't know because I'm not in all the rooms with all the information, but personally, I think we need to be working our way out of this. I know that American people have lost taste for sending any more money to Ukraine. I mean, you see it on social media all the time. Any funding project or any funding bill that comes across as money for Ukraine, people are highlighting that and saying, this isn't our fight.
2% of our federal budget we're spending on it.
Yeah. I mean, and you being a veteran, I mean, how many homeless veterans are there that that money could be going to? There's a lot of things going here stateside where we've done a lot. Okay, we've tried to help, but at some point, tired of flushing our taxpayer money from the drain into a corrupt Ukrainian government where we don't even know where the money's going. So I feel for the people over there. I mean, I obviously don't support Russian incursion into their country, and I want it to stop. At some point, our money hasn't helped, and I'm not willing to put men and women, our armed forces over there in harm's way for someone else's war. Yeah, I would personally say, based on what I know, I think the answer is to start kind of moving out of that.
So you mentioned your district and how vast it is, and I mean, is there one issue you think that affects the district as a whole?
It affects America as a whole, and it's affordability, and specifically, I mean, because affordability it is changing. Gas coming down. I think inflation's on the, but it is the separation between GDP growth, stock market growth, and middle America, like the middle class. I mean, wages aren't keeping up. I mean, houses live this. Right? I've owned three houses in my life as I moved around in the military, and it's like every single one, the price tag increase with each one
Yeah.
does not match the square footage increase, and that's hurt me. I mean, and I think it's hurt my entire generation. Anyone that's in the world of building a family right now, it's tough to move and go from. I mean, in Dothan, we had extremely low interest rate on the house we got a really good deal in, and then you move down here to Baldwin County with the growth and everything and an 8% interest rate, and it really strings people my age because we don't have money to take advantage of a soaring stock market. We don't have money to take advantage of, kind of the economic growth on the GDP side because it's there. There's money flowing. But when you don't have any expendable income because costs have gone up so much, the biggest of which housing, it's difficult to relies on that. So I think that echoes across the district and across, America. Everyone feels that.
There was somewhere between five and, according to some sources, as much as $15 billion in fraud, whether it was false daycare centers or elderly watching, places, you know, in Minnesota alone. I don't think any state has been investigated to the degree that Minnesota under Tom Waltz has been, or Tim Waltz. Um, how much of, I mean, does somebody need to go to prison for, I mean, we throw somebody in jail if he steals our lawnmower, but we ignore a Somali gang who walks away with, 100 million. Um, do we
If you
really
and I
need
don't
to
pay
send
our
people in
taxes, we're
prison
going
for
to jail.
this?
Yeah, if you and I don't pay our taxes, we're going to jail. But the people that are distributing our tax money down to the state, the people that are executing on these fraud on all of this fraud, and it's not just Minnesota, like you said, that's just the one that's in light right now. Let's go to California and see how bad the fraud is there. Let's go to any of these states and look at the federal money that is coming down, who's getting it and where is it going to. And yes, if you were caught in some fraud scheme, I don't care who you are. I don't care what position you're in. You should go to jail just like every other normal person who, if got caught up in this, would go to jail. I mean, it's there's not a second tier of people that get different consequences for the same loss.
Austin, we've kept you 30 minutes. Thanks for your campaign team to allot us this time slot here.
No, it was great.
I'll load this up to YouTube in a bit. Is there any closing statements you would like to make?
No, just I guess yes, not yeah. Check us out. SidwellForCongress.com, Facebook, Instagram. That's our website. And when I say, we're fighting the establishment. We're fighting the system that prevents good new candidates from getting into the race, because I think that we need fresh faces in Congress. I think that we need fresh ideas. I think we need a generational change in Congress. But that means that we're going to have to get support, financial support from people, here in Alabama, from people in the district, to thousands of them. And it's just time that we want change, then stop electing the same people. Like, go out, check us out, go to the website, donate if you can. Little donations, it doesn't matter. Don't, it's $5 great. Like, it matters to a campaign like us. We are confident in our strategies. We're confident in, where we sit in this race. And I'm confident to say I'm, one, the most conservative person in this race. And two, I am the best candidate to represent the first district of Alabama. But we only win this if we get support. Go check us out, sidwellforcongress.com.
Thank you so much for being on with us.
Absolutely, anytime. This was awesome. Thanks, guys.
Have a great day.
You too.